Welcome to Real Estate Real World, where we talk to the movers, shakers, and leaders that are getting it done right now in the real estate industry and beyond. Your host, Marguerite Crespillo, started this podcast simply dedicated to call people about what's really happening in this crazy roller coaster ride of real estate. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and stay up to date on the newest stuff by adding yourself to the list at www.realestaterealworld.com. Now your host, Marguerite Crespillo.
Hello, everybody. It's Marguerite Crespillo, your hostess with the mostest of Real Estate Real World. I'm really excited to be here today, and I'm especially excited to have my guest here. Her name is Elizabeth Riley. And Elizabeth Riley is a Texas A&M marketing graduate. Isn't that interesting? Embarked on her career at Dell Computer Corp in finance and recruiting before transitioning to college hire as a tech recruiter. With nearly 2 decades in real estate, she actively invests and works in the Austin area, extending her focus beyond buying and selling. Recognized nationally and locally, Elizabeth is a sole agent among 80,000 peers to achieve Icon 7 times at eXp Realty. Quite the powerhouse, right? And an extraordinary leader in our industry. Not only is she married to her fabulous husband, but she has 4 kids and loves to get away. Without a doubt, please welcome my good friend, Elizabeth Riley.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy to see you today.
I'm super excited to be here. You get to be on a podcast with one of your favorite people in the world. It's definitely a good day. So thank you for having me.
We were talking shortly before coming up about how I've seen you at a couple of these events, but these events we go to are so over the top, insane with stuff going on that it's really hard to have any kind of in-depth conversation. So it's awesome to have you on our show today. So thank you.
I love it. I have to obviously change my bio some because those numbers are still outdated. We're at 90,000 agents now. I'm 8-time Icon, almost 9 times.
Oh, you made 8? You're at number 8 now?
I'm 8. I'm almost 9.
We need to update it for sure.
I've
made it 5 times, but I haven't been here quite as long as you either.
I know. I'm the old one of the group, it seems so. But this is fun. And you're right. When we first met, we weren't as big. And so we got to spend a lot more time with those people at the events and the people we wanted to spend time with. And now it's like, whenever I see somebody, I'm just going to get a hug because I don't know when I'm going to see you at the event next.
And you know what I actually love about the Icon? We didn't talk about this earlier, but what I love about the Icon Award, because I'd had my own brokerage for 22 years before I joined eXp. And it was an independent brokerage. So if I got any kind of award, I had to buy it myself.
Yeah.
Myself, you won. Yay. And a lot of like our local Masters Club and things like that, you have to pay for your awards. The beauty of the Icon Award is not only do you not have to pay for it, but you are also awarded up to $16,000 in stock back as a thank you for contributing to the company, right?
Oh my gosh, it's life-changing. And what's really cool about it is I was at another company for 10 years. Loved the company. Great experience. I was a top producer, and every year I got a baseball cap that said Capper. Thank you for that. That does not pay your mortgage. That does not put your kids through school. That does not make an impact whatsoever. And so what I love about the Icons is, yes, it's a thank you from the company. It's recognizing the top producers, but it allows us not only to fulfill our dreams and our goals personally and professionally and with our family, but it allows us to pay that forward and cascade it out and make a bigger impact, which is what I just love, being able to qualify for Icon year after year, much more so than a baseball cap or a gift card. And not to knock those things, because that's just how the industry's always been, but it's really fun to be a part of a company that's so forward thinking, that's so innovative driven and doing things differently than what everybody else has been doing for so many years.
Absolutely. And so one of the things that I love to hear actually is, how did you actually end up at eXp? Like, how did this come together? Because you weren't looking, right?
No, I wasn't looking. And that's what's so funny is I was content. And what I've realized over many years is that contentment is not a good place to be. So for me, I'd been in the business already 10 years, and I was at one company. I'd always been at the same company. I got started in Georgia. My husband and I were investors, and my CPA told me that one of us had to get our license because we were investors. And my husband looked at me and he said, I'm corporate. I have the benefits. You're getting your license. And so I wasn't really excited about that. And so I went to a company that fit what I needed at that time. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I can make this what I want it to be and work with those people that I know and trust and that know and trust me. And I built my business in Georgia. And then in 2008, you were in the business in 2008. You remember,
Yeah.
my husband was transferred to Austin, Texas. And so when I moved here, I didn't know anybody. I didn't have a sphere. I had one child at the time. I now have four. But I had to figure out how to build a business, but also integrate into the community for my family and for
Right.
my son. And he was 18 months old. And so went to the same company and started meeting people. And what happened is they thought I was crazy for getting into real estate. They were like, oh my gosh, don't the market's horrible. It's a horrible market. And I was like, hold on, time out. I just came from a really bad market. Like Atlanta burst.
Right.
So it's all perspective and it's how you look at things. And for me, it was opportunity. I had a bigger opportunity in Austin where everybody was wanting to get out of the business because they thought it was a bad market. I said, this is a better market. So it gave me that opportunity to move forward. So I became a top producer in Austin, Texas in 2014. My office had 650 agents. I never would follow my numbers. I truly believe if you take care of your clients like they're your one and only, the numbers are going to come. So if I'm helping them meet their goal, my ultimate goals are going to be met as well. So I had no idea I was going to be number one. I was called up to the stage, got my trophy, got my baseball cap, and I came home that day and I told my husband I'm getting out of the business.
Oh,
he
wow.
said, he goes, what are you talking about? You're at the top of your game. You just worked so hard to get where you are. And I said, yes, but we talk about God, family, business in that order. And that year for me to do what I did, it was all business and everything else was secondary. And I wasn't okay with that. My husband traveled internationally. He was gone all the time. It just wasn't a balance. And I don't really think there's such thing as a balance, but I was completely out of whack with my priorities. And so he said, well, start your own brokerage. And you had your own brokerage. And I said, absolutely not. That's more work. That's creating more jobs and responsibilities that I am trying to take off my plate. And no other company really excited me. It was all lateral moves to me, if you think about it. And my Atlanta relationships, and relationships are key to everything I do. My Atlanta relationships had all gone to this little company called eXp Realty. Nobody had ever heard of them. They said, you know what, we could all work again together. We could do some cool things in Georgia and Texas. And I really missed my community. And I was, quite frankly, I say I'm content, but I think I was just really bored and uninspired. And I said, I'll look at it. And they said, you meet with somebody. Sure, I'll meet with somebody. If you believe in a relationship, you don't even ask questions. So Glenn Sanford came into Austin to meet with me. And it's funny because now people are like, oh my gosh, Glenn Sanford came to meet with you? And time out. My office had 650 agents. His whole company had 400 at the time. Right. So it's not what it is now, but I sat down with Glenn. I liked Glenn as a person.
Yeah.
I loved his vision. I loved his heart for the agents. I loved how obsessed he was with changing the industry in the positive. I liked the idea of the Icon Award. I liked the idea of getting stock. We were called the Amazon.com of real estate. And I said, what if?
Right.
What if, Marguerite, you and I knew about Amazon when they were trying to sell books online? And everybody thought they were crazy. If we had bought into Amazon back then, holy cow, our lives would look completely different.
Yeah.
So I go back to the opportunity and perspective. What if that works? That could be really cool. And then you have, what if it doesn't? Okay, if it doesn't, I can go to any company. They need me. So I talk about seeking wise counsel quite a bit. I am willing to take risks, but I never want people to take a risk just because they follow me, because people join people and people follow people. And so I went to my old team leader in Austin and I went to my team leader in Georgia and I said, tell me I'm crazy. What am I missing? I've never been anywhere else. And my team leader who had retired in Austin, he said, let's look at this. And we looked at it for 5 months. We picked it apart. We'd ask questions and he was retired. He was set for life. But here's the interesting thing. 5 months later, he said, you know what? I'm bored. I'm uninspired. Let's do this. I'm Agent 466. I had no idea what this company would do. But when you have visionaries as leadership, the world's your oyster. And when you're doing things that nobody else has ever done and you're innovating and you're changing the ways things are done, it's exciting. So I found my passion again. I got excited again. I was the first icon ever named, and I've never looked back.
I love that story so much and I especially love the people follow people. My words lately have been thank God for unanswered prayers, right? That famous song, because a little less than 2 years before I joined EXP, we'd had a large brokerage. We had 20 agents, 22 years had spent building a brokerage. And in January of 2015, we'd closed it down because it wasn't making financial sense anymore. And my husband has Parkinson's. So the combination was just like, and I was like, I'm never joining another company. I got flown to Austin. I got all that stuff. I'm like, I'm not doing it. And I sold a ton during the REO phase, 4,000 homes. I did a ton.
Yeah.
And when Brent called me, and I've known Brent for many years prior to that because we're in our market, he was actually going to open a branch office with us of our office at one point and decided against it. So when he called me, I'm like, what are you selling now, Brent? And I go, I'm not interested. And I'll never forget when I went and he got us to sit down and watch a video with, it was live webinars back then. There were only 1,400 agents at the company then, with Rob Flick. And I remember about 10 minutes in, I'm like, it was like all the stars had aligned from all the unanswered prayers prior to, from all the stuff we went through with our brokerage and all these different things. And all of a sudden I was like, it was almost like this moment where, whoa,
it made sense.
It sounds crazy, but it made so much sense. And all I remember is going home to Joe and I'm like, I really think we need to do this. It took us about a month because we still had a small brokerage. So we had to shut down, and onboarding at that time was a little different.
Oh my gosh. We were all putting tracks in front of the train as fast as it would go. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy town. Oh, I remember.
Yeah, it was insanity. And it was a ton of fun. It was insane. And I'm so grateful to this day that I made that decision. Like I was talking to, you'd referred your friend Nicole to me. And I was talking to Nicole yesterday and she worked at this other company. And I said, yeah, I go, at the time when we shut our brokerage down, that other company ended up with about 100 of our agents. And it's funny to hear the other side of the story. We'll talk about it another time. But the fact is that I was so devastated and distraught at what happened with all that. And then here we are, fast forward. That was like the best decision we ever made. And I'm so grateful for making those decisions and for connecting with Brent. And then ultimately when I got to meet you, I didn't even know you were in my upline or success ladder or something until someone said, who's all in there? I'm like, I don't know. I know Rob's up there, Sheila. So I don't know. And then they posted this thing that showed everybody. I'm like, you're kidding me. I'm in Elizabeth's organization too. That's the best thing ever. Pretty cool.
Well, and I didn't know that either. Like the first time you and I met, you spoke on stage at an event. I don't remember when the event was. It was a long time ago when you first joined, but I remember you speaking on stage. I was like, oh my gosh, she speaks my language, because you were very much about relationships and staying in touch with your clients and writing letters and loving on them in such a way. And I remember chasing you down. And it's funny now because I said, I know you don't know me and you probably think I'm crazy, but you spoke to me and I just want you to know we're totally in alignment. And I was so excited to see other people at our company doing things differently, but similar to how I did things and how I thought. And so I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this woman probably thinks I'm absolutely insane. And then from there, we got to build a relationship and got to know each other and friendship. And I'm so grateful for that. But I just remember that aha moment. I was sitting there going, oh my gosh, she speaks my language.
Well, what's funny about that day, that was in San Diego and it was in 2017. And there were only about 300 people in the room. It was a shareholders meeting.
That's right. That's right.
Huh. And Rick Jiha and I both spoke at that event. Mm-hmm. And it was my first time ever getting a standing ovation, like at a speaking event. So I was just like ugly crying on stage. And then Rick followed me and Rick was all excited too. So I remember him and I were like, can you believe we got standing ovation? Can you believe where we were just both, can you believe where this company is going and what's happening? And Now, of course, sadly, Rick's no longer here, but what an impact he made. And that day is forever ingrained in my brain. So it was a pretty
Yeah,
amazing.
it's so fun. It's so fun.
One of the things I wanted to talk about too, because I remember a few years ago, you and I having a conversation about women in leadership. And at that time, you were struggling with, what that looked like for you and what your responsibilities were. Do you remember? I'm not sure if you remember that conversation.
I totally remember that.
You're like,
Absolutely.
I just don't think I'm a leader. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't think you're a leader? Like, what are you talking about? And I remember saying, we need more people like you to lead. And it's funny because just a couple of days ago, somebody posted something in one of the real estate groups, lab coats or something, I can't remember, about they showed a picture of leadership at the other company, Keller Williams, and it's all four are white men. And somebody said something about it, and I was like, I don't understand why they weren't able to find any women in leadership. And of course, it went to this whole conversation about they should just get hired the best person for the job. And I said, okay, so let me just take it to another level. So what you're telling me is that this company has over 160,000 agents, and over 60% of them are women. And you're telling me that there's not one woman out of close to 90,000 agents that is qualified for those leadership positions. And the comments stopped right there. I was like, we need a lot. 60% of our industry are women. So
Right.
we need more women leaders. So why do you think there aren't more women in leadership?
I think it's interesting, this whole conversation, because you're right. For the longest time, I was like, I don't have anything to say or value to bring, or I'm just, the word is just, I'm just this little agent. First of all, since then I've removed the word just from my vocabulary. And whenever I hear somebody say, I'm just an agent, we're going to remove that from your vocabulary. Don't put just in your language at all. Because what I've recognized is sometimes, first of all, I always talk about surrounding myself with my board of directors. Right? Everybody has to have their board of directors, people that believe in you, but also will call you out and keep you accountable, keep you honest, keep you humble, and just let you when you're on the right path, but more importantly, when you're on the wrong path. And I think people have to surround themselves with people that believe in them a little bit more than we believe in ourselves at times. And I started doing that. I started moving rooms because I was stuck where I was and I wasn't growing. And I recognized if I'm in the wrong room, I've got to move rooms. We talk about that all the time. And when I started moving rooms and surrounding myself with different people and listening and really observing, if the DISC profile, I'm a high S, and I observe quite a bit. And I'm much more of an introvert than people think I am. So I observe and I take it all in. But then I've had other people and men, strong men, that have looked at me saying, why aren't you more visible? Why aren't you speaking up? Why aren't you taking a stand? Or why aren't you like empowering others? You've got so much value to bring. And I was like, what do you see? And so then I had to, when you ask those questions, you just have to listen, good, bad, and ugly, and say, okay, you're not just telling me this to tell me this, because you're my board of directors. So when I started seeing that happen, and when I would respond in a way and people would encourage me, I was like, wow, okay, I have an opportunity, but more importantly than an opportunity, I have a responsibility.
Yes.
And when you realize it's a responsibility and you realize where you are in the company and where you are, because I've been incredibly blessed to be where I am and what I've done and what I've been able to build, but I haven't done this alone. I've had people lifting me up. I like to say lifting others as I climb. I've had people lifting me as they climb. And so because of that, I have a responsibility to pay that forward. And I can't do that being silent. You're one of those people. You asked me to come out to your event and speak at your women's event. And I don't know if you know this, I was so scared and nervous because I didn't know what I was going to say and I didn't want to let you down. Yeah. And more importantly, I didn't want to let everybody else in that audience down. But what I've recognized, and it's growth, I'm still on my journey of growth. I was so tied up and caught up in trying to be what I thought everybody wanted me to be. I was surrounded by the guys, and I love the guys, but I was trying to be what I thought they needed to be instead of who I was authentically. And when I started realizing I can just be me and you can take me or you can leave me, I was realizing a lot more people were aligning with my message and aligning with my thoughts and raising their hand more and recognizing that they're all leaders too. Because so many people thought leadership was a I don't know, a title that you had to earn. And when you recognize all the hats that women wear, all the things that we do, we're all leaders in everything we do. The single mom is a leader. The mom is a leader. The PTA president is a leader. The PTA committee volunteer is a leader. The nonprofit volunteer is a leader. You can be a leader in all sorts of aspects. It's not just a box that you have to check or you have to earn. And I think so many times in this industry that women aren't stepping up. We're just doing and we're not stepping up. And we've never really had that platform. And I think EXP has allowed us to all have more of a voice, to have a platform where we're all entrepreneurs. We're all succeeding in different ways. Success looks different for all of us. And when you share, that's where the impact is. And I love seeing other women come to me and other men. I've had men come to me saying, what you said spoke to me. And I don't know exactly what I say when I'm on stages. A lot of times, most of the time, I just speak from the heart. So I don't know what connects with people and what doesn't. But something I'm doing and something I'm saying is connecting people when I have men and women alike coming to me saying, you inspired me. I connected with you. I aligned with you. And so when you have that, and it's not just about validation, but when you start seeing people respond in a positive way, and saying they need more of that. And you inspired me to be a better leader. You've inspired me to step up my game. Holy cow, that's so empowering, not only to myself, but to others around me. So I'm just failing forward. I don't know. There's no recipe. There's no way, special path to success. I'm just taking the feedback from other people that have been believing in me. You, Chuck Fazio is a huge advocate, huge part of my board of director. Renee, even our leadership, Michael Valdez, Glenn, people believing in me, it gives me more of a sense of responsibility to pay that forward to other people. And I'm not going to let anybody down. That's just my personality. And I'm going to stumble and I'm going to fall. And it makes me human. It makes me relatable. And I'm not trying to be perfect anymore where I was before.
I love that. And it's been really inspiring to me to watch what you've done the last few years. And it's an example of more of what I need to do as well. So what's happened is my team challenged me to do a video every day for 30 days for my birthday month. I don't know if you saw some of them.
I saw some of them. I didn't know you were challenged to do that, though.
I did it every single day. Today was the last one that I posted. So I did it every single day. And there were a couple days it was hard. And I was honest. Like there was one day that I said, look, I'm just overwhelmed, man. Like life is throwing them all at me at one time. And I got so much feedback and so much response from just being, vulnerable in some of those videos. But what it taught me is that people are listening. Right. I think sometimes we don't realize that people are really paying attention to what we're doing. And not that you need this huge audience, but if you impact one, I got this like lovely message from this one gentleman and he's laid his heart out. He goes, I don't know why I'm doing this to you. I don't know you that well. He goes, but I just felt like you would listen, which to me that's where you're really making the impact, right? Where you're connecting with somebody and you're helping them or feeding their soul or inspiring them. And I guess I didn't really get that part of it.
Right.
Until the combination of doing all those videos and then what you just said and how that is really impacting people. And you're right. We have a responsibility and we need more women, strong women to lead and to be examples to the younger women and the direction that they're going, because it's a challenge out there. To me, it's way harder in a lot of ways, raising kids and all the stuff that people are dealing with now than from the time when I raised kids.
Well, somebody's going to influence the kids. I have 4. I have 2 boys and 2 girls. And I watch my girls, and especially with social media and the access that everybody has, they're getting validation from somewhere. And I don't want it to be from a source that's superficial, right? That there's no real substance. I can sit back and let the world raise my girls, or I can step up and I can raise my girls to be strong women and contributing to society and have big goals and big dreams. And if I need to do that for my girls, or if I want to do that for my girls, then what happens when we all do that for each other? And I think at EXP for sure, and a lot of people don't understand it. They don't understand our culture. And I talk about at Texas A&M, we are tradition rich. There's a huge culture. And we always had a saying that said, from the outside looking in, you can't understand it. And from the inside looking out, you can't explain it. And that's EXP to me. When people get into our culture, Glenn is brilliant when it comes to putting the right people in the position, no matter race, sex, color, experience, what have you. And I love that he's putting the right people there, and we're all empowering, inspiring everybody else. And that's what the culture that's been created. And it's very different from the rest of the world. And so with kids, especially, I want my girls to see that their mom stood up and did things to impact in a positive way. And I want them to do that as well. And it's pretty fun. It's not something I never really thought I'd be on stages. I never really thought that I'd add much value. But to your point, everybody wants to be connected in some way.
Yeah.
And when you got the standing ovation, that's happened with me before. And I'm looking around going, what did I do? But when you're real, right? And you're vulnerable, which by the way, vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. And it took me a very long time to realize that. But once I realized that, there's power in being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not an ego thing. I talk about ego. I don't have ego, but I have influence. You don't have ego, but you have influence. And when we use that influence in such a positive way and it starts impacting other people and they feel connections, like everybody wins. And that's a good feeling.
I love that because one of my favorite quotes is that we have this whole world that is more connected than we've ever been via social media and all that. But people are still craving that connection. They're craving that something about you that touches their spirit, or meeting them in person, or like we recently learned when our friend Rick passed away, the value of a hug, of just making sure, don't wait, like hug and love on people while you can, because you literally don't know if they're going to be here the next day. And I feel like that attributes to leadership. Like I'm trying to figure out my own way right now when it comes to leadership, because my kids are all grown and I just turned 60 a couple days ago. And I'm like, what can I do now? What is going to make a bigger impact, and how can I give back, and how can I lead? I don't know what that looks like for me right now. I feel like something's going to just pop into my head, but I do feel compelled and led to go do something to be able to help more, primarily women. I'm not saying I won't help men. I love the men, obviously, but I feel like they got plenty of examples and have had them for a long time, that I feel like we need more strong women in leadership that can help and support and encourage these people. I don't know. Maybe I need to add to my board of the directors, because I don't have one of those. I think I need one.
You need one. Everybody needs a board of directors, right? And it doesn't have to be anybody in real estate, right? It's just people in your world. And think about real estate. I think I spoke on this. I don't even know. It starts running together. But if you think about when real estate first started, way back in, when the men were the ones doing real estate. And this is not men versus women, but this is just reality, right? The men were the ones doing the real estate, but who was really doing it? Who was doing everything in the background? Who was organizing everything? Who was being strategic? The women really were. And now women, we've shown that we're great negotiators. We're savvy business people, right? I'm not going to say business woman. I'm business people. I can negotiate against some of the best. I don't care what sex you are, right? There's things that we bring to the table. Women can multitask, not always the best thing, and multitasking is not always great, but we can juggle a lot of things and manage a lot of things that a lot better sometimes than men. So I think we do really well in this profession. But on the leadership side, again, leadership was such a big, scary word for me. Because if you think about leadership, it's all about your examples as well. So growing up, my dad was a Navy pilot. And Navy, he had his demon. He had been in the wars and all these other things. And my dad, to me, I adored my dad. He passed away about 10 years ago. But my dad showed me leadership in ways that made me not want to be a leader, right? He was overbearing. He was intimidating. He was scary. And that's what I thought leadership was, right? And I didn't want to have any part of that. I didn't want to be like that. But then on the flip side, I was raised with my mom. My parents were divorced. My mom and my stepfather opened their home to 140 foster children in 20 years, where that looked like weakness. My mom's leadership style looked timid and meek and quiet. But that really, what I realized over years is that's a servant leader. That is a totally different style of leadership that I can get behind, and that's really more in alignment with who I am. And so that's the leader I am. I love to lead from behind. I don't need to be in the forefront. I don't need to be all about me. Somebody is coming on in one of my trainings and he said, "What's the name you want me to use? What's your headshot? I'm going to put it all on all the social media and all the logos and stuff." I was like, "No, it's not about me. It's about all of us together. We're locking arms." I said, "I don't want a logo. I don't want a headshot. I just want you to come in and pour into everybody." And he wrote back, he goes, "Wow, I love that. That's a different approach." And that's okay. That's my approach. People are going to be drawn to that and people are going to be not drawn to that. And I'm okay with that. But if I can impact even one person, golly, people are impacting me all day long. So there's just a lot of opportunity just being who we are and being vulnerable. The video, when you said video, oh my gosh, if I was challenged for that, I would run and hide because that is not my comfort zone at all. I'm very uncomfortable on video. But again, people were encouraging and pushing you outside of your comfort zone, which look at what that did. When other people were believing in you more than you were believing in yourself, look at how many people have organically just reached out. And what about all the ones that haven't reached out, but they're watching you and you impacted them in a positive way? That's there's something to be said for that.
It's funny because even just yesterday, and now I can't remember where I was, but I was at some office or event or something. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I've been watching your day of the month or your birthday month videos." And I was like, "Really?" You really don't even know how far it's going, whether it was local or away. That's, I think, the beauty of social media and the impact that you can make is so far beyond what you can imagine. I think that
Yeah.
that's probably the hardest, but that also created a lot of pressure, right? Now I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know who's watching and I don't want to like say anything stupid or hurtful or cruel."
Yeah, we've got to stop getting ready to get ready. And anything that we do, we just need to do. And I need to get my kids. I've got two teenagers and two preteens. My kids tell me all the time how ridiculous I am on video or social media, and it gets in my head. I'm like, you know what? But then I have kids are kids, right? But I'm like, don't do that because then what I do is I retreat back. I'm just going to be me. But it's the same thing. The world is social media is perfect and filtered, and I really connect with the people that are just showing up and
Yeah.
doing and failing forward and just being themselves because again, it goes back to being relatable and the world is tough. And it makes people realize, okay, I'm not in this alone and there's other people that I can relate to and that I can reach out to and we just make a better place together. We're all just doing this together.
It's funny because on my days, the majority of them, I did one take and just I didn't even rewatch it because I'm like, if I
I
rewatch
won't watch
it,
them.
I won't post it. And the only day I didn't was on, I think it was day 28, which maybe it was after Thanksgiving. I don't know. But that was the day I was really overwhelmed. And I recorded it like 10 times. And finally I'm like, all right, this next one, this is it. I'm posting it. And because I kept recording and I would start crying in the middle of it, I'm like, I can't be crying.
Yeah. You're like me. If I record it, I have to post it. I will not watch it because if I watch it, I won't do anything with
I
it.
won't post
And
it.
I won't do lives. I've gotten away from trying to do lives because that just totally intimidates me. And I don't know why just recording it and posting it is any better, but I don't know, for some reason there's a security blanket there. But no, you're always awesome and authentic and just fun on video. So I just want to encourage you to keep doing video because I would have never known you had an aversion or an insecurity around it because you're just so natural.
Yeah, I don't feel it. It is what it is. So as we wrap up today, like what is next for you? What is something you're really excited about that is coming up?
I was talking to my good friend Rich today on the phone about that. And golly, it's my kids. I have a senior in high school and I'm having a hard time with that. It's my first one. And I just like keep him wrapped up in the corner in the house, not ever leave until he's 40. And I keep telling him he's living with me till he's 40. But I think for 2024, especially, I'm really going to focus on being more present. I love to be needed. I love to be a resource. I love to be an answer to things, but I've realized that I really need to be present and take it all in, whether it's with my family or with whatever I'm doing, not trying to think too far ahead. So that's something I'm working on. I'm really loving doing the smaller events. I'm so honored when people ask me to come speak. So I think in the new year, I'll probably do more, but being more intentional. So I'm not just here, there, and everywhere, because again, then it takes me away from being present with my family. So real estate, I'm still very much in real estate. I'm still in production. I'm so blessed that I have a referral based business. And so we'll still service our clients one at a time, but I don't have big goals about I need to do service 50 families or 60 families. The people that I'm supposed to service are going to show up in the new year. But I think I'm just going to be loving on my people and focusing on helping them build and grow, lifting others as I climb, like I mentioned before, and just really helping them get to the business that they want to get to, but not only business, but also personal. I really love helping people meet those goals. So that's really what I'm going to do, I think, in the new year. And like I said, I just take one day at a time and see what comes and hope for the best. But I haven't really set any goals because I like to be a little bit more agile and be flexible when things come my way that I probably didn't accept or expect to come my way. And I'm just going to live in the moment and be present.
And that's all the things that I love about you. And I think that you're truly amazing. I feel so incredibly blessed to know you. And I'm really grateful for you taking the time today to be on our podcast, and look forward to getting to connect with you. Hopefully soon, live and in person somewhere. I don't know where it'll be, but
we'll do something soon, live and in person. But I adore you. I'm so blessed to call you friend. And I'm so honored that you had me on your podcast today. And this is always fun to visit.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us again on Real Estate Real World, where we get to talk to all the cool people, especially amazing ones like my friend Elizabeth Riley. Be sure to follow us on all the social media channels and be sure to share with your friends. So we would love to spread the word about Real Estate Real World. So thank you again for joining us today, and make it an amazing day.
Thank you for joining us today on Real Estate Real World, where we talk with masters and leaders in real estate and beyond on how we can raise the bar in our industry. Please subscribe over on iTunes. And while you're there, be sure to give us a review. Your reviews encourage us and help others find our podcast. For show notes and hot topics on what's going on right now in our real estate industry, pop on over to www.realestaterealworld.com and add your name to our email. Thanks again for listening. And go out there, be a part of the elite masterclass in raising the bar on the real estate industry.